Hello and welcome to Impactability, the Nonprofit Leaders Podcast. This is a show that explores the landscape of the nonprofit organization, big and small, offers some incredibly helpful information and resources, and gives nonprofits a place to share ideas and get advice. Our show is sponsored by SuperAdobe Strategic Solutions, offering a wide variety of services to help nonprofits maximize their impact. We're excited to bring you the stories and advice of leaders in the nonprofit sector to help you succeed in your nonprofit. So let's get started.
Welcome to Impactability, the Nonprofit Leaders Podcast. I'm Cheryl Sukup, and I'm your host for today's episode. We have a great nonprofit leader today, Dastan Khalili. He is the CEO of CalEarth, and we're going to learn about a really unique, innovative way of providing housing and shelter. So there's a great story of science behind it and story of leadership and family. And I look forward to hearing everything that he has to say to us today. So with that, I welcome you, Dastan.
Hi, Cheryl. How are you? Thank you for having me. My name is Dastan Khalili. I'm the president of CalEarth, the California Institute of Earth, Arts, and Architecture. And we're a nonprofit educational institute and a disaster relief charity. And essentially what we do is we teach people and empower the individual to be able to build themselves a shelter from the earth under their feet that is in harmony with nature, that is fireproof, hurricane-proof, tornado-proof, and it is something that they can teach others as well. And we educate people from building simple emergency shelters all the way to full homes.
That's wonderful. Great. Well, I hope you're going to tell us more about that as we get into our conversation today. So you have a really sort of unique story. So I wanted to go back a little bit in time to the start of your organization, and also, if you can weave into that, how you got involved in this organization. Tell us a little bit about the journey.
Oh, wow. Okay. So my father originally, he's the one who was the founder of CalEarth, Nader Khalili.
Mhm.
And he was an architect and actually an urban developer and worked on building skyscrapers, high rises, parking lots in Los Angeles and in Tehran. But eventually he got to a point where he realized that being in the rat race and running after the next job and the next gig was unfulfilling. And as he looked around, he realized that there's over 1 billion people in the world who have inadequate housing or are homeless. And so he literally shut down his business, got on a motorcycle and went into the desert on an odyssey for years to develop and figure out a system of how can we build shelters and homes for all humanity. At that time, I myself was about 2 years old. So he went through decades of research and development and traveling around the world and doing talks and writing books until eventually he realized that he needed to create an institute where he could disseminate this technology and teach other people. By then, I had become a filmmaker and I was making movies and documentaries and always, of course, involved with them. It's kind of like a family legacy. And with CalEarth specifically, I started making a lot of documentary films about the work. And then in 2007, when he passed away, my sister Shifta and we took over the Institute and have been running it ever since.
It's so great that you have this legacy that you're continuing forward of your father and that you and your sister get to be in this nonprofit business together. It's really a very neat story. So, all right, well, tell me, when you're thinking about all that you have done in this nonprofit organization, is there something that you wish you would have known when you first started that you now know, but you didn't know back then? Is there something that you wish you knew back then?
If you believe, it will always work out.
Okay.
Because
Tell me
in
a
the
little bit about
beginning,
that.
because in the beginning when my father passed away, he was very much the synergetic force behind CalEarth, and his reputation was worldwide. I mean, he was world famous and he had developed and invented and created the system. He had presented to NASA. He had done all of the work. So what happens now? And we were just a team of us were trying to continue this legacy. But there was a lot of fear, a lot of stress, a lot of worry. But over the years, really it became about trusting the work and the service. And once we allowed that and trusted in that and really followed that, then it led us instead of us trying to force a direction. And we were able to move forward without really, with all the pressures that the mind creates. And so that's what I mean.
That's great. And what is it like for you to take over, so to speak, an organization that was led by your father in the past? Are you able to kind of carve your own path? Are you concerned about continuing his legacy? What's that been like for you? Because that's a kind of, I want to say, it's not unique, like nobody's ever done it in the world before, but it's unusual. And I think it's really interesting that you find yourself in this position, and I'd love to explore what's it like to work with your sister.
Well, my sister and I have a wonderful relationship, and we both bring to the table different skill sets and talents. So it's really a wonderful team, and I love working with her. But as far as my father, this is not a personal thing because his approach to Cal Earth was never about my work. It was about the work and service. And so it has been a tremendous honor and an opportunity for me personally to continue this legacy of serving humanity and the earth, the environment, and these very virtuous things in a good way, And so there is no concept of carving out my own reality because the work supersedes me personally. And I have my personal career and personal passion, which is a filmmaker. And I have, some success in that. So, and I'm happy doing that. But this work is about service. And at some point, eventually, someone else will step in. And even so, at this point, my sister and I, with the support of everyone who we work with, have disseminated this work globally at such a level that even if CalEarth was stopped and closed, the system and the work would continue anyway, because it has gone very deep into the fabric of the consciousness of building in the world.
That's amazing. So no matter what happens from here, that's like such a safe place to innovate from, to explore from, to build from, to create from. Is that you know that no matter what's already happened is going to continue forward, which is great. I mean, it's an amazing place to be working from.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about what inspires you day to day about the work that you do in Cal Earth. What makes it so that you want to continue, even though you know that even if Cal Earth as an organization were to end tomorrow, the work itself is so well embedded that it will continue on in its own way. Tell me what is inspiring to you day to day to keep with it and to strive for more.
Well, I'm a very blessed person. I live a very blessed life. And being a creative and an artistic person, I draw inspiration from many places. But specifically in regards to Cal Earth, you know, in the Red Road, the indigenous way, the Native American way, there's this thing called the beauty way. And the idea is to leave the world just a little better than you found it. And this is a very difficult thing to do, right? Because we're always using so many resources and taking so many things. But to have the opportunity to be in a position to serve humanity, homelessness, poor people, like the LA fires happened. So many people came. We had a conversation. Hey, this stuff is fireproof, natural building, just moving the goalposts a little further. That in itself is really a privilege and a deep motivation for me.
Hmm. So you just mentioned about the LA fires, and that there's you've gotten quite a bit of attention because there's such a great need in the area that you are operating in. I know you're global, but where you are physically located, you've had a great disaster and a great need for housing and shelter. How has that impacted your work, and how are you impacting the lives of people that need your help during this difficult time, the aftermath of those fires?
Well, what's interesting is that it's opened up a very important conversation in Southern California, where we're located,
Mm-hmm.
into the truth, which is what happens with all natural disasters. See, what is truly sustainable is the fire, the hurricane, the earthquake, the tornado. Those things happen, and then
Mm-hmm.
we go back trying to build the same thing, expecting different results. And now there's an awareness of, hey, maybe we should do this differently. And here are these existing technologies. And that's what's most exciting at this time.
So, talk to me a little bit about the technology. Let's learn a little bit from you. What is it? How would somebody characterize what you're teaching? Talk a little bit about that.
So SuperAdobe essentially is taking what's called sandbags and barbed wires and building using the geometry of the arch and circles. Okay. So it's very simple. The materials you bring to the site in the most minimalistic sense are sandbags, and they're long bag. It's about a mile long bag. And depending on the structure, you cut pieces of it, you fill it with soil. Okay. If you want a permitted house, it has to be stabilized with cement, and you tap it down into the form you want. You'd lay barbed wire on one row, and then you do another bag in this such way. And so when you build a structure, it becomes this very solid, monolithic structure made of the earth under your feet. And that's why it has all of the qualities that I'm talking about. And you can see samples of it all over the place in the internet, videos, our website, of course, caldearth.org. But it's a very simple, accessible form of architecture. We have workshops where people come for 2 days and they walk away and they know how to build a shelter. And so the key is simplicity, right?
Mm-hmm.
How simple can you make it and effective at the same time? And that's why it's such elegant work.
Now, you said that really anybody can build this type of shelter. So, is there any limitation? Like, how much does it cost to put together the materials if somebody wanted to learn how to create one of these homes?
Well, cost is an interesting question because, what do you want to create? Do you want to create a 10-foot dome in your backyard that's a meditation shelter? You could do that for a couple of $1,000, Or do you want to build, we have at CalEarth an example of a 3-bedroom, 2-car garage, 3,300 square feet. Now we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars. However, like I said, you take the 2-day workshop, you can build that shelter in your backyard. You can build that emergency shelter and teach people. And once you understand the basic concepts and put your hands in the earth and have a tangible experience working with the mother, it's transformative personally. Because then you're empowered and you're never in fear of what am I going to do if something terrible happens? You have the answers and solutions. And that's the essence of our work, is to empower the individual to do that. And that's why I always encourage everyone to either do our online classes, come visit us at CalEarth. We even have an open house this Saturday. And you're always
That's so
welcome, of
great.
course, Cheryl. So
Thank
that's
you.
kind of like the long-winded answer, but that is really what I would say.
Well, wonderful. Now, can you share maybe like a story, like a success story? Maybe talk a little bit about um, a home that was built or a shelter that was built, or maybe some folks that were really empowered and came back and shared their experience with you. I know you have a million stories to tell, but is there anything that really resonates with you that would be like something that would demonstrate the impact of what you're doing?
Many, many stories, Cheryl, indeed. I mean, what's the scale of the measure, right? Teaching individuals in disaster relief situations across the world, and they build themselves shelters, like the earthquake in Haiti, and there we go and we do a workshop there, and they build themselves shelter, and so the next earthquake comes and they're safe. That's a success story. Or all the way to the island of Hormuz in the Persian Gulf, where they built a 60-dome resort that won the Aga Khan Award and got international recognition. Being in MoMA as one of the top 7 in New York, in a Museum of Modern Art, as one of the top 7 solutions to housing for the homelessness and disaster relief, or even
I saw that
individuals.
exhibit.
Yeah. Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Amazing. Amazing. Or
Yep.
just, someone coming to site and being like, wow, working with the earth, I feel so empowered and transformed. It goes from the micro to the macro, to the individual to the group. So much of that is the beauty of this experience.
That's great. Well, I have to say, I recommend if you are in New York City and you can't get out to California, to go visit MoMA and see the exhibit, because it was pretty remarkable. All right, now we're going to take a quick break and we will be back with you shortly.
You're in this to make a difference, to create change, to serve your community with purpose. But without a clear strategy, even the most inspiring mission can stall. At SuperAdobe Strategic Solutions, we can help you turn your mission into results with expert guidance on the development of your long-range strategic plan. With decades of nonprofit experience, our team of experts help nonprofits plan boldly, lead effectively, and grow sustainably. Our customized strategic planning services empower your organization to move from vision to action with clarity, confidence, and alignment. Whether you want to expand your programs, strengthen your board, or prepare for long-term sustainability, our strategic planning services are customized for where you are and where you want to go. Our expert team guides you through every step, from stakeholder engagement and data gathering to goal setting and action planning. The result? A roadmap that brings clarity, energizes your board and staff, and drives measurable impact. We believe strong leadership and thoughtful planning drive meaningful results. So if you're ready to sharpen your focus, engage your board, and expand your impact, let's move your mission forward together. Visit our website today at soukupstrategicsolutions.com and schedule a free consultation. That's SOUKUP strategicsolutions.com.
Welcome back. I'm with Dastan Khalili of CalEarth. Dastan, let's continue our conversation. If you could give one piece of advice to a nonprofit CEO, somebody that's in your shoes but another organization, or is aspiring to lead a nonprofit, what would that one piece of advice be?
A lot of CalEarth's work and the essential inspiration of it actually comes from the ancient Persian poet Rumi, which is very worldwide well known. And a lot of the architecture technology was inspired by Rumi poems and Rumi stories. And my father would love to tell these stories as anecdotes, but examples of effectiveness. And so if you're wanting to run a nonprofit that is in service, the question you have to ask yourself is, do you really want to be in service, or is it a different motivation? For me, what has made me successful is to be in service. That's why I have this kind of a positive experience. To illustrate this, there's a great Rumi story. So in antiquity, there was this kind of lazy man who wanted to get fame and fortune, but really had no direction or motivation, right? And as he looked around thinking about what could I do to become successful and famous, he realized that in the country that he lived, they had this big issue with lions coming and terrorizing the villages. And so he thought, wow, if I go to village and I tell people that I'm a lion hunter, they're going to take great care of me. And so he did some studying and he looked at lion hunters and how they were treated and what they wore and how they acted. And so he bought all the gear and he put on the look and he started going from village to village saying, I'm this great lion hunter. and I'm looking for the footprints of the lion. Has anyone seen the footprints of a lion? And all the villagers would come and say, wow, this amazing man. No, we don't have any lions here. There's no footprints, but come stay. They would take him in his home. They would give him food. They'd give him money. They'd think he's this great hero because he was pretending to be this lion hunter. And this went on for a long time until he developed a reputation. One day, he goes into this mountain village and he walks in and people are saying, well, who are you? Who are you? And he says, I'm this great lion hunter and I'm looking for the footprints of the lion. Has anyone seen the footprints of a lion here? And the villagers say, oh, yeah, we've heard about you. You're that guy. No, there's no footprints of the lion here. But up in the mountain, that cave over there, there is this lion who's coming down and killing all of our cattle. We would love for you to go and kill him. And the man says, oh, no. I'm just looking for the footprints of the lion, not the lion itself. And so I would say to you, are you looking for the footprints of the lion or are you a lion hunter? If you want to go on the path of nonprofit service, be clear about that. And that will carry you all the way through.
I like that. And that's a really great way to tie in Rumi into this conversation. I think it goes back to what I've heard a lot about from nonprofit leaders is, and this seems to be pretty universal, that you really have to understand why you're doing this. What is your purpose? Are you passionate enough about it to persevere through all the difficult times and constantly be able to return back to that why, that mission, that purpose, and your own internal motivations? Just kind of illustrated in the story, which is great.
Absolutely.
So let me ask another question related to this. So if Rumi is a big resource for you and it's helped you to become the leader that you are today, that being able to learn from that wisdom and all of your father's stories, what are some of the other resources that have helped you along the way in your nonprofit leadership role?
I think a big part of it is personal self-care. If I'm in good shape, then I can bring my best to the table. If I'm not healthy, mind, body, spirit, soul, have some kind of a personal practice, which I do, daily check-in, then that is going to have concentric repercussions in everything. But if I take care of myself well, then I can bring my best. And that's how I approach it.
That's great. What are some of the ways that you practice self-care?
Well, I was very blessed.
It's a little different for everyone.
No, of course. I was very blessed. Decades ago, I met a Qigong master, which I actually made a film of, ultimately a documentary called Master. And he taught me these really sacred arts from Wudang Mountain. And so I practiced those daily. And Qigong actually means energy skill. And so there's movement, breath, soft, hard. It's based on the yin-yang philosophy, Taiji, Shini, Bagua, all of these aspects. And so checking in with myself daily and doing these practices really allows me to be present as often as possible to do my work. But I'm very clear, life is contrast. And anyone who tells you that they want to escape from that is really going to have a hard time. If you embrace it, and when you're going through it, you integrate it, and then there's ups and there's downs, But having the personal practice is really what works for me.
Well, I just wanted to take a moment to say to anybody listening today that self-care is one of the last things many nonprofit professionals engage in. And I want to encourage you to take care of yourself first. It's like they tell you on the airplanes, put that oxygen mask on yourself first so you can help the others around you. You're not going to be any good to anybody else if you don't take care of yourself. Plus, as a leader, it's so important to practice what you preach. If you want the rest of your team to be well, both physically, spiritually, emotionally, you want them to bring their best A game to accomplishing your mission, you need to lead as a mentor, as a coach and help them learn how to be taking care of themselves as well, and open up space for that too. All right.
Exactly.
So just
Well
had to
said.
say that because not enough people talk about that in the nonprofit sector, I think. All right. So tell me, we all learn from our mistakes. And one of the things I like to ask is what is your biggest failure and what did you learn from it? It could be something that seems very minuscule, but was very important to you. But think about something that didn't go your way. You made a mistake and yet it turned out really great in the end because you were able to extract from it something that was meaningful.
I understand. I don't look through the lens of success and failure. I am more interested in balance. And when I'm off balance is when mistakes can happen and there's more contrast and difficulty. And one of the things that creates imbalance is jumping the gun. Now, a lot of people want to put pressure on you to respond quickly, to react quickly, things of that nature. You can take your time. And that doesn't necessarily mean delaying. Even if you breathe just a moment into something, really take your time before reacting emotionally and jumping the gun. Then you'll have balance. And that's how I perceive it and work with it.
That is wise advice. Thank you for that. I think a lot of times leaders are called upon to make instant, quick decisions. And some of the best leaders take their time and weigh all of the factors and then make their decision. Of course, there's times where you have to decide quickly, but if you're really mindful and you understand, if you sort of have I would say a rubric or some kind of infrastructure by which through your values, you do your decision making, you make your decisions, then it makes it easier when you're having to make a quick one. But you're right. Leading with emotion is never good.
Well,
I mean,
also,
it's great.
yeah.
It's great to share your passion with people,
Sure.
but like making a split second response that leads with emotion is not always the best solution for a leader. I think taking a breath is really good advice.
Absolutely. No, absolutely, Cheryl. And you know what? Key element to that is having a sense of humor. Rumi says, "Blessed is the gambler who has lost everything except the desire to gamble again." And, so if you're clear on your mission, it's going to be up, it's going to be down. But as long as you stay on point and are into it, you're blessed. And you keep a sense of humor,
That is one of the important qualities of any nonprofit leader is a sense of humor. All right. Well, tell me, what's the biggest surprise you've had in the last few months? Is there anything that has been a surprise, good or bad for you?
It's a really interesting question. Having done this now for a very, very long time, I think it's more like waves, with the fire, and our ability to respond and support as much as possible was a wonderful crest, And now that all the cleanup has happened and the reality of the situation and insurance and building departments and all those challenges are happening, the wave is pulling back in and things are really slowing down, And so over the years, learning to kind of ride and flow with this is really interesting. In this case, because it was in our backyard in Southern California, it was a really much more acute experience. And that was something new.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've had that experience with hurricanes in Florida, and it really is something to be in the midst of all of it. And it does have this, similarly, it has this feeling of great crisis, disaster, just like you were talking about the earthquake in Haiti. But the aftermath is long and drawn out, and it doesn't seem as big, but it is enormous when it comes to length. the amount of time that it takes to truly recover in a community, and individual people's lives can be impacted for a very long time too. So creates opportunity for your organization to educate people because they want to listen, because they're looking for solutions now and for as long as they're talking about recovery. But then it's funny, people forget. They forget, and then they say, we need a disaster plan. Well, we had one right after the last disaster. Where is that one? What happened to that one? And more resources are spent. So hopefully everything that you have to share will get embedded into the consciousness of the community around you as you're going through this recovery in LA.
Well, what's interesting, Cheryl, is that over the years, what I've learned is that this is a very long-term process, and it may take generations. I'm the second generation now doing it. But there's a great Rumi poem, قطره قطره آب جمع گردد وانگهی دریا شود. Drop by drop, the water gathers until suddenly it becomes an ocean.
It's a good way to describe what you just said in a much more beautiful manner.
So,
all right,
that's the approach. One day at a time.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So I feel like you could have a book in you. So if you were to write a book about your experience working with nonprofits, what would you write about?
Really back to what I said, are you the lion hunter or following the footsteps? This is about service. It really is. And it's a privilege, and it's difficult. And also make sure you have a day job, or you have someone like Cheryl Sukup who can get you grants, because, when you're helping humanity and the earth, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
But if you have that deep dedication that's beyond your personal self-aggrandizement, then there's no greater sensation and reward.
Wonderful. That's so great. Thank you. Those are words of wisdom. Well, I really appreciate you joining me today. Where can our listeners find you online, find out more information about Cal Earth, and maybe watch some of those films that you've created?
Sure. CalEarth.org, of course, is the website. And my films, you just look me up on the internet, Dastan Khalili, and you'll see links to all of my work over the years.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again so very much for sharing your wisdom with us today and a little bit about your journey. And thank you so much for all of the work that you're doing in the world, creating a better place for us all to live in together.
Thank you so much, Cheryl, for having me.
Thanks for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We love to hear from our listeners, so please reach out and let us know what you liked and what else you'd like to hear. You can find our email address and links to our social accounts in the show notes. If you enjoyed hearing from today's guest, we encourage you to reach out and connect with them. See the show notes for their contact information. To get more great content in your inbox each month, sign up for our newsletter at impactability.live. That's impactability.live. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the show on YouTube or in your favorite podcast app. That way you'll get new episodes downloaded as soon as they come out. Finally, we'd be grateful if you would give us a positive review or a rating so that your peers in the nonprofit industry can find us as well. From all of us at Impactability, thanks for listening, and thank you for all you do to make the world a better place through your nonprofit.